But then we have all these colors here that we need to know where to wire to. And then we have our speaker, which is pretty simple. It's 2 wires. And then we need to map this somewhere. And just to be clear, I drew a diagram. You can see here's our radio box, which is that. And our black ground goes to the chassis ground. So anywhere there is a clean, bare metal spot on the chassis, we connect it to that. Our red wire goes to the battery for power. Our yellow wires aren't getting used right now, but they're for the lights. And then our green wires to the speaker or the siren, whatever you want to call it. So that's our setup. So now that we got our spaghetti figured out, let's go see where we're going to mount our siren. Our siren is really heavy, so it has to be in a sturdy place. The other thing is the siren is directional, so the sound waves come out this way. So we want to mount this somewhere facing forward. We also want to mount this somewhere where the sound waves could penetrate through. So somewhere in the grill would be perfect. So to get behind the grill you already saw in the previous episode, just pull that right out. And right behind the grill are a bunch of sturdy mounting points. So let's fit this up. And it looks like the perfect spot right here. So I took the bracket off the siren speaker so it's easier to work with. I'm going to place this where I want to mount it, and I'm going to mark the holes with a marker so we know where to drill. Good. I marked all the slots from the mount just in case we want to use all 3, but we're only going to use the outside 2. So let's get drilling. Now we'll test fit the bracket to make sure it fits correctly. This fits great, so let's mount up the siren. We want to make sure our speaker is facing forward and out of the vehicle. Good, now this is nice and secure. You can see this does not move at all. I'm really pulling hard on this, and it's nice and sturdy. And this is the view from the front. I think we picked the perfect place to mount it. Now let's go run the wires. From inside the car, we need to take this wiring harness and run the wires from our control box through the firewall to get to the engine bay. So all these wires need to find a spot through the firewall. So let's go look at the driver's side footwell. And what we're trying to do is find any passages through the engine bay, like this shifter cable right there, or right there with this wiring harness, or with the steering column, so we can slip our wires through. And to be honest, when I'm looking under here, I don't see anything, so we might have to drill our own hole. So I'm going to look right underneath that wiring and see what's on the engine side of the firewall. Okay, so we're coming in from the driver's side here, and we want to look for that wiring harness. There it is. So that's the wiring harness that we just saw from the interior. And we want to make sure there's nothing underneath it so we can drill a hole. So right under the wiring harness, there's just a black sheet of insulation. So we could drill right through the firewall, and that's where we'll run our wires. So it's looking real good. We could drill right there. Nice small hole, put a grommet, make it nice and neat. It's away from the wiring harness, and that sounds like a plan. So now we need to be able to slip all these wires through a grommet. And a grommet is just a piece of rubber. And what this does is it protects the wires and closes off that hole so that there's no chafing. So you can see these wires will actually fit nice and snugly in this grommet. And if we want to add 2 more wires, there's just enough space. So if we want to add those light wires, we can always do that later on. So what we need to do is we need to drill a hole that is the inside diameter of this grommet. And then we'll snap that grommet in, and then we could run wires through the firewall without a problem. And convenient enough, the same drill that we just used to drill those holes to mount the siren fits this perfectly. It's a little bit bigger than the inside diameter, which is what we want, just slightly larger, and that'll fit perfect. But first we're going to be using a smaller bit to drill a solid hole into the firewall. We're going to go right below that wiring harness, right here. Drill our pilot hole, and we'll go in. Perfect. So now the wires will pass through here without a grommet. The problem is, you can see already the edge, even though it looks pretty smooth, a little bit of vibration and movement over time like that will chafe the wires. So what you do is you get this rubber grommet, which goes right in the hole like this. There we go. Now, when the wires go in here and it moves in and out, there's no chafing because it's rubber, so it's really soft. So now we have our grommet installed. You can see the light from the outside. Now we can run the wires through there. Now we're gonna mount the radio so we can run the wires through the firewall. I was gonna put it right here and just Velcro it, but then you see all these wires. What I think we're gonna do instead, that fits in there nicely, and we'll have this clip somewhere over here, and then these wires will be tucked away out of sight. This is only temporary, and I'm thinking we're gonna build a little center console mount right here, so we can mount it to that. But for now, we'll mount it right here. Now here's a side view, and what we can do is we can run the wires back through here. Just like so. So now you're not even going to be able to see the wires. The other thing is, there's a nice bare piece of metal right here, and our grounds can connect right to that bare piece of metal. So let's start out with this black ground wire. We'll remove the carpet piece here, and we're going to ground it right to one of these bolts. So here's the eyelet, and this already came pre-stripped. So I'm actually going to bend it over, just like that. Slide that in there. Grab the crimpers, crimp it good, and give it a nice tug to ensure it's crimped tight. Beautiful. Now we have the whole system grounded. Now I didn't trim the black wire because if we're going to move this forward a little bit, we might need some more room. So I'm just going to tuck this in here, out of the way. Beautiful. Can't even see it's there. We'll put our trim piece back. And you can't even tell there are wires there. Since we aren't using the yellow wires right now, I'm going to tape them up since they came pre-stripped. This will prevent any shorts. And now we can tuck those wires out of sight as well. Now let's get the red wire and the two green wires through the grommet. Remember, the green wires go to the siren or the speaker, whatever you want to call it. And the red wire goes to the battery. Now let's take the wires and route it to the grommet. Slide it through the grommet and pull it through to the engine bay. Now if we look how we're wiring this and where we're running it, you want to keep it away from all moving parts. This is going to get zip tied up against this vacuum line up here, so it's not just dangling there. But you can see, it goes up and over everything. So it's not in the way of any of the brake or even the gas. It's out of the way of all moving parts. It's not near this, which will turn. This is your steering shaft. And it goes up and over everything, and then down through there. I'm also going to zip tie it right here up against this wiring harness so this doesn't move either. Just to keep everything steady. This needs to be reliable, needs to work every time, and it needs to be safe. Now that's the end of the wiring harness that they supply you. So you're going to have to add your own wires so that you can run it from here all the way to there, and then also all the way to the battery on that side. So right there, we're going to be using this tubing so that none of the wires fray. So the wires are all going to go into this tubing, which will protect it. Since it's going to be around 10 feet of wiring, I'm going to use this red wire for this red wire and the black wire for the speaker wires. And these are 14 gauge, and that will prevent any significant voltage drop. So it'll keep the wires cool. It'll allow the full 12 to 14 volts to run through it, and it'll just keep everything running in tip-top shape. So now I'm going to just go run the black wires to our siren. Now we have our two black wires of equal length. Strip the ends.
Outside, not inside.
Now we have all of our ends stripped, so we can connect the two green to the two black wires and run them to the speaker. You get both stripped ends of the wire, push them together, and you get your crimper and crimp them down. Then you give the wires a tug and test it out. Do the same exact thing for the other wire, and then we'll use the heat gun to shrink the rubber around the crimp and make it watertight. Now that looks perfect. So our two black wires are connected. Let's get our red wire connected. So I'm just running the wire roughly in the area that I'm going to lay it down in so I know where I can cut it. We can cut this right here. We have our two red wires here. Crimp these together as well. Test it. Good. Now all three wires are crimped together nice and strong and they're heat shrink so they're waterproof. Now we're gonna get this plastic hollow tubing and we're gonna run the wires through the tubing and it'll just keep these wires nice and protected. So you can see there's a split right down the middle of this. All you do is feed the wires into the tube like that. There's just this little bit of red wire sticking out now, so we'll tuck that in there. Now we're gonna route this where we want it. We're gonna go through the hole that's right down here. So now we have our two wires coming from the siren and our two black wires coming from the box. And we're gonna get these together. It doesn't matter polarity, just one on one, one on the other. That's one. That's two. Now the heat shrink them. All right, that's all connected up. Sneak that in here. I'll tape up these wires with black tape just to make sure they're nice and neat. Let's finish running this underneath here. Now let's run the red wire through the hole in the frame to get to the battery. So I have this eyelet, but the plastic around it isn't heat shrink. So I'm going to take the plastic off, and I have a piece of heat shrink to fit right over it. Heat shrink prevents corrosion, holds the wire in place, and really seals in that connection from the elements. So I prefer using it. I'm going to slide the heat shrink on the wire and then attach the eyelet to the end. Crimp it down, slide the heat shrink over like that, and use a heat gun to shrink it. So we're about to connect the power wire, so make sure the siren box is shut off completely. We'll tighten this down. Close that up. And now let's go try it out. Okay, everything's all wired in place properly. Let's go turn her on. We got power. Beautiful. Okay, now that we know it works, I'm going to just shut it off and we're going to finish tightening up all the wiring. I'm going to use zip ties to secure the wiring harness so it doesn't move around. So we have our wires coming up. It's secured right here. It comes across. It's kind of tucked down into there, all secured. It goes through there, comes up. And here's where I'm going to want to secure it, right up here. Then it follows the frame along the front. It goes through the frame and meets the battery. So we are almost done. We'll put the shroud back on. Now we have one more thing we need to do. We need to mount the microphone somewhere in the car. Comes with this mounting plate. I kind of like right there. So then it'll sit just like this. So we're going to put it like right here. Easy screw in. First I need to drill a hole. Actually, I wonder if I could put it right here. So right here we have these vents. And I'm thinking if I could put this right here and just use the existing vent holes. So then I don't have to drill anything, and it can go back to stock without any holes. Good. That's dirty. That's not coming off right there. I like that. So now I can easily grab that in the driver's seat, put it back. The best part is there's no holes, so I didn't have to drill holes in here. So if we wanted to put this somewhere else, we could easily just take that off. Beautiful. Now we're officially done. Let's go try the siren out.
Right now, if you have a digital
Let's go turn it on. You can adjust the volume right here. And put it at about half volume. And then you have different settings here. And then later on, we can use these two switches for our lights. The fuse is a 10-amp fuse, and it's built into this, so we don't have to worry about adding a fuse. And then anytime you want, you just press the mic, and you can speak into the mic. And shut it off. Just close that like that, and you're good to go. So there we go. Episode 2, Project Police Interceptor. Installing a siren so that the police officer can be heard There's less of a chance of him getting struck by a vehicle. It'll make it known that he's on scene, and I think that's pretty cool. It worked out great. And stay tuned for episode 3. Hopefully you like how Project Police Interceptor is coming along. If you're liking it so far, give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button to get new updates on different projects, as well as this project. There are 3 videos down below you can click on, or you can find the links to those videos in the description. And also, if you have any ideas, let me know. Stuff that people have never done or don't commonly do is what's going to make Project Police Interceptor stand out. Hey guys, Chris Fix here, and can we get a thumbs up because Project Police Interceptor is back? Finally, I was able to get the officer to let me finish the Crown Vic so we can finish episode 3 and episode 4. First off, let me start by saying I don't make many of these update videos. I needed to update you guys on episode 3 and 4 for Project Police Interceptor. But for now on, I want you guys right now to go check out my Instagram, my Facebook, and my Twitter. Whatever you use. I mostly use Instagram and Facebook. But on those social media pages, that's what I use to update everybody on what's going on. Just like, I don't know if you noticed, but last Thursday was the first Thursday I ever missed making a video. And well, it's because I was at SEMA. And if you were on my Instagram or if you're on my Facebook, you would know that. So I just wanted to get that out there. Check out my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Those links will be in the description. Anyhow, getting this car back is a big deal. Finally got it back. The officer uses it all the time to go back and forth to work. He has a long drive. I know I told you guys multiple times what the deal is. And actually, this car has already saved lives, so I am way proud to work on it. I think I'm going to have to do a reenactment of what happens. Right now, I am going to put some brakes in it, in these brakes, and then obviously, episode 3, we're going to wire up all the lights and everything. I got to make a center console for the siren, and I don't want to spoil too much on episode 3. And you saw the light bar in the front of the vehicle. This is going to be way cool. So we know episode 3 is going to be wiring lights and have some surprises in that episode. There's some really cool stuff. But what's episode 4 going to be? Well, that's going to be bulletproofing these doors. So contrary to popular belief, guess what? Doors in cars are not bulletproof. When a cop hides behind one of these doors in the movies, 99% of these doors are not bulletproof. If they are, they have a little badge that goes right on the door and it says it's armored. I mean, it's expensive to armor doors, which is why we're going to be doing it. Because how cool is that? Make a bulletproof door? Bulletproofing this door is going to be expensive. We're going to shoot a real door and prove it's bulletproof. That episode 4 is going to be insane. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited to do that. I need to find bulletproofing that is cheap, and it's going to go inside the door panel, so I'm going to take the door panel off. So if you guys have any ideas, any connections, anything like that, let me know. I'm totally down to listen to what you guys have to say. Comment in the comment section. That's episode 4, so we got some cool stuff coming out with that. Another thing I want to mention, my officer friends gave me something else that I need to do, and that is make a video on how to remove sap. Actually, I got sap all over me. He got sap all over his car because at the station, he parks this underneath a pine tree. He knows better now, and there's just sap everywhere. I know you guys probably park under trees once in your life, and you got sap on your car. So I'm going to show you how to remove sap. That's another video coming up. And finally, I just want to mention my website is up, which is awesome. It's just a simple place to find videos. It's in the beginning stages. My website has many features, such as a store where you can get your own Chris Fix bumper sticker and show your support for my channel for all you fans out there. They come in white or black, and you can put them anywhere, on your car, on your laptop, on your toolbox, wherever you want. And make sure you send me a picture if you get one. Plus, on the website, there's a section that you can submit your own video requests, and it goes right to a list. You can always do that on YouTube by commenting, but this is also another method where you can submit it. It goes right to a list, and that list gets tallied so I can see what requests are the most common. Any proceeds from my website go directly back into making videos. I want to do a bunch of cool videos such as dyno testing products to see if they make more power, plus do more cool and unique builds such as Project Police Interceptor. And don't forget, leave your opinions about the website in the comment section. I want to hear what you think. That way I can make a better website based off of what you guys want. And this is just a really quick video to give you an update because that's important to me, to let you guys know what's going on. Episode 3 is coming out soon. Next 30 days it will be out, I promise. And then hopefully episode 4 will be soon after. If you have any ideas for Project Police Interceptor, comment below. Give this video a thumbs up. I want to show this officer how great it is that I finally got this car back. This is big. I know you guys have been dying for episode 3. Episode 4 is going to be awesome. And I'm hoping that I can squeeze in a really cool episode 5. I have a great idea. I don't want to spoil it. This is a Chris Fix Project Police Interceptor update saying stay tuned for some cool stuff real soon.
Ito na, ang next time na yung breakfast, so, there. But another thing is that, so 365 degrees or 190 degrees Fahrenheit. So here's the maximum power. We go from there to 100.
Hey guys, Chris Fix here, and today I'm going to show you how to paint your wheels. In this video, I'm going to be painting these steel wheels to make them look amazing and to transform the look of this car. Because personally, I don't like the look of hubcaps, especially these hubcaps, and under those hubcaps, these steelies are all rusty and look horrible. So we're going to go from these ugly rusted wheels to this, which looks amazing and really transforms the look of the car. The process I'm about to show you will work for any wheel you want to paint, whether aluminum alloy, chrome, or steel. And I'm going to be using common tools so you can do this at home. If you have aluminum wheels that are polished and shiny, I have a video on how to fix scratches and curb rash on those, and then polish them up and clear coat them. I'll leave a link to that video in the description. But if you want to paint your wheels, then this video is for you. So let's begin. Now there are 5 simple steps to spray paint your wheels. The first step is to clean the rim with soapy water to remove any grease, brake dust, or road grime. The second step is to smooth down any rust, scratches, or curb rash with a metal wire brush, sandpaper, or a flat wheel. Step 3 is to wipe down the rim with alcohol to clean the surface for paint. Step 4 is to paint the wheel with primer. And step 5 is to paint the wheel with any color you want. This will take you about 2 hours total to do all 4 wheels. So let's get started. The first step is to take the wheels off your car and clean them with soapy water. You want to remove any brake dust and grease that might be on the wheels. It doesn't have to be perfect because the next step, we're going to sand down the wheel, which will remove most of the brake dust anyway. So just make sure you get all the grease off. Now with the wheel clean, the next step varies based on the condition of your wheel. Now what we want to do is we want to make this wheel as smooth as possible. Any little rough spots, scratches, curb rash, or any other damage will show up through the paint, so you have to smooth those down. So if you have any deep scratches that gouge into the metal, get one of these 120 grit flat discs and smooth it out, just like I showed you in the aluminum wheel repair video. And you can do the same thing with 400 grit sandpaper, it just takes a little bit longer. Since these wheels are steel wheels and we're dealing with all this rust, not really scratches or gouges or curb rash, I'm going to use a metal wire brush on my angle grinder. Now this is a fine metal wire brush compared to a thicker metal wire brush, and we only need fine because this rust isn't bad at all. And the good thing is both of these could be bought for less than 20 bucks. Now if you don't have a Dremel or an angle grinder, you could use old-fashioned sandpaper to sand down the wheel. Just like in the aluminum wheel repair video, you go from 400 to 600 to 800 to 1000 grit to smooth down this whole surface. You'll get the same results with the sandpaper as you will with anything else. It just takes a lot longer, which is why I'll be using the angle grinder. And remember, if your wheels are steel just like this, which you can tell because the magnet sticks to them, it takes a lot more pressure and a lot more time to sand scratches smooth in steel, because steel is harder compared to aluminum. Aluminum will sand a lot faster. Now let's get started removing this rust. Now at this point, we want to use eye, lung, and hearing protection. We don't want this dust to get in our lungs or our eyes. And the little metal pieces on the wire brush tend to shoot out if it hits a rough patch, so you don't want that in your eye. Now we're going to start by sanding the whole wheel down. The goal here is to get the surface completely smooth and rust-free. Focus on removing that surface rust. Make sure you get into all the difficult spots, like the center of the wheel here. While you do this, pay attention to the tire stem so you don't damage it. And make sure you don't forget about the edge of the rim. But be careful with the tire, because you want to do your best to not hit the tire with the wire wheel. Finally, get over by the wheel weight. Now you might want to take the wheel weight off when you paint the rims. That's up to you. I'm not going to, because you're going to have to balance the wheels afterwards. These are brand new tires, and I'm not getting them balanced again. So I'm keeping the weight on. I can always touch up the paint if the wheel weight ever has to get removed. Make sure you get in every crack and crevice. You want to make sure you remove all the rust and any imperfections, because that'll show right through the paint. You can see this spot looks clean and free of rust, but upon closer inspection, it still has some roughness to it. This roughness will show right through the paint, just like this. So make sure you get it completely smooth. Now look at that difference. Make sure you do that for the entire wheel. Even if your wheel's in great shape with no rust or scratches, sand the whole surface down with 600 grit so the paint has something to grab onto. This will make the paint last a lot longer and resist chipping and peeling. Now I told you to wear eye protection, and check this out. This is why. These little pieces of metal from the wire wheel come flying off, and imagine if this went and hit your eye. So be smart and be safe, because that's very important. All right, this looks great. It's completely smooth with no rust or deep scratches. The little bit of black left over is the original powder coating, and it's not coming off that easily, so you can spray right over it without any problems. Now, on to step 3. The first thing I like to do is I like to hit the wheel with some compressed air, or if you don't have an air compressor, a leaf blower would work well, and just blow all that dust that you created from sanding off the wheel. If you don't have some type of pressurized air, then just wipe the wheel off with a towel. Now for step 3, we're using rubbing alcohol. Pour the alcohol onto a paper towel, preferably a paper towel that's low lit, and just make sure you rub down the whole wheel to get it clean. Every surface should be touched by the alcohol and paper towel. We use alcohol because alcohol is a good solvent, plus it's very volatile, so it evaporates and dries quickly. You want to clean the wheel until you can wipe the wheel with a new paper towel and it's completely clean, like this. Once your towel's clean, you are ready for step 4, spraying primer. For step 4, find a spot away from anything you wouldn't want to get overspray on, such as your car. Now the hardest part about painting is not getting any paint on your tire. So I have 2 tricks that we're going to use to help with that. The first trick is tire shine gel. Get a bunch of tire shine gel on the applicator and spread it on the outside of your tire, being careful not to touch the rim at all. If you get anything on the wheel or even on the outside of the rim, make sure you clean it off with alcohol right away because the paint won't stick. And that's the whole purpose of using tire gel. If you get any overspray, you're just going to wipe it off because the overspray is going to stick to the gel, and the gel provides a protective coating. And to make sure you don't get the tire shine on the rim here, don't go so close, leave a little gap. That's where trick number 2 comes in handy, using index cards. And all you're going to do is stick the note cards between the rim and the tire all the way around. So as we spray, we're going to have to go all the way across the wheel, so the index cards will protect the tire from overspray. And if you happen to get some overspray on the tire shine will make it real easy to remove that overspray, and the paint won't stick to the tire. One more thing. To protect the valve stem, I like to use the tip of a finger from an old glove and just cut it off. Then it slides right over the valve stem, just like that. Alright, we are ready to spray primer. We use primer first because it bonds well to the metal and fills in small surface blemishes like scratches. It also gives the colored paint a really good surface to bond to. Now a helpful trick I learned for spray paint, if the air temperature is less than 80 degrees Fahrenheit, put your can of paint in warm water. Make sure the water is between 90 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is basically the temperature of the hot water coming out of your sink. Doing this will give you a better spray pattern and less orange peel. And this can's nice and warm, so let's go paint. Now we're ready to spray our primer. Make sure you read the instructions on the back of the paint can to determine what temperature range you can paint in, how far to hold the can from the wheels, and how long you have between coats. Make sure you paint in low humidity and with little to no wind. When painting, never start or stop spraying with the nozzle pointing directly at the wheel. You always want to start from the outside, go across, and end on the outside. This will help your paint job look a lot better. For your first coat, get a light, even coat, and don't worry about complete coverage. I start spraying with the can further away from the wheel, and then I move in closer until I find the sweet spot where the paint gets evenly applied to the wheel. Just like that. So now our first light coat looks awesome. Now remember to put the can back in the warm water. While we'll wait 2 to 3 minutes between coats. 3 minutes later, let's do our second coat. On the second coat, we want to make sure that we cover all the wheel with primer. And make sure you spray at different angles to get complete coverage. You don't want to see any bare metal at the end of this coat. And one thing I like to do is go around the whole outside of the rim to make sure you get coverage between the note card and the rim. And now you just have to wait another 2 minutes, and we can spray the final coat of primer. All right, on to the final coat of primer. Now's a good time to put your colored spray paint in the warm water and let it heat up. With this last coat, I'm going to slow down the motion of my arm a little bit, which will make this last coat just slightly thicker, and this will help with the orange peel. You don't want it too thick though, because then you'll get paint that runs, and that won't be good. So just finish up this last coat so there's an even and full coverage. And it's that simple. All 3 coats of primer are on, and if you're curious, I used about 1/3 of the can, so you can easily do 2 to 3 wheels with 1 can, and that's doing 3 coats each. And to get a close-up, you can see how good this came out. The finish looks nice and
That's
smooth.
delayed. It sucks.
And now we have about
That's
10 minutes for the primer to be ready for our black coat. One thing I want to mention, when you take the spray paint out of the water, make sure you wipe it down good so none of the water drips onto the wheel as you're painting. Now with the color, you're going to do the exact same process we just did with the primer. Spray a light, even first coat, and don't worry about covering up all the gray. Make sure you stop and start spraying with the nozzle pointed away from the surface you're painting.
hard.
Just like that. After our first coat, we wait 3 minutes and let it dry. 3 minutes later, we can hit it with a second coat. Make sure you cover up all the gray primer with this coat and spray at different angles along the wheel. Now we're done with the second coat, so let's give it 3 minutes and start our third coat. All right, we're on our final coat. For the final coat, I'm slowing down my arm just a little bit so that we can get a slightly thicker coat, just like we did for our third coat of primer. And again, I'll spray the rim at different angles to get complete coverage. And we are done. If you want, you can put a layer of clear coat on here for a glossy finish, but this black paint I use has a glossy finish without clear coat, so it saves us a step. By the way, I highly recommend this paint. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can get it. I used it to undercoat my truck, and I use it for painting all my suspension parts. It's durable, and it's just so easy to spray to make it look good. Now the last thing you want to do is you want to remember to pull the cards off so they don't get stuck or peel the paint when the paint dries. And don't forget about the glove tip covering the valve stem. Now this looks amazing. It has a great deep shine to it. The paint is smooth and I'm really happy with it. Now all we have to do is let it dry for 2 hours and we can put it on the car. It's going to be a long 2 hours. Check this out. This looks so much better than before. And to make it even better, I have this small chrome center cap which is going to complete the look.
Is that illegal? That's
Check out the before and the after. Look at that difference. Now you can see at the bottom here and also the side here we have some overspray. All you have to do to get that overspray off is use an abrasive sponge. Because we use that tire shine, it comes right off. The paint job for these wheels came out awesome, and now you know how to paint your wheels so it comes out looking great. Hopefully the video was helpful, and if you try this on your own wheels, take a before and after pic and send it to me or tag me in it on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I definitely want to see your painted wheels, and maybe I'll even feature it in a future video. Hey guys, Chris Fix here, and we are back with episode 3 of Project Police Interceptor, where we wire together all our police lights. We have front visor lights, we have a rear traffic advisor, we have a LED light bar, we have little LEDs, and we have a dash cam. Plus, miles and miles of wire. I cannot wait to get this all in there and see this thing light up. Depending on the laws in your area, you might or might not be able to wire lights to your vehicle. If you're a first responder, you might be able to run red and blues, you might be able to run just blues, or you might be able to run orange lights. It all depends on your local laws. If you're not a first responder, police officer, first aid, firefighter, this video is still going to show you how to wire stuff properly and just the process of building a police car, all the little intricacies that it has, the little features that the P71 has, and it's just kind of a unique build, like whoever gets to build a police car. Not many people, so it's pretty sweet. Now that being said, we have the permits for the state that this car is going to be used in. Now listen closely. This car specifically is being used by a police officer to go to and from work. He lives 2 hours away from where he works. He encounters many traffic accidents and many officer assists where he pretty much sees a police officer on the side of the road that needs help. That is why this car is being made. So he's always the first one there at an accident, or he's always assisting officers. He was almost hit once because his daily driver doesn't have lights on it. It's not going to be used to pull people over, whatever you guys are fantasizing about. It's strictly going to be used for assisting in accidents and assisting officers on his way to work. I think I made that pretty clear, so let's get to the fun stuff. Oh, by the way, check this out. How good do those wheels look? I need to clean up the tires and make them look black, but those rims are looking gorgeous on this car. And I'm going to have a video all on how to paint your rims. I'm going to be painting them black. This is what they used to look like. They had these cheap hubcaps. I don't really like the look on those, and neither did the officer, so we're changing it up. Underneath those hubcaps, are these disgusting rims, and then after we paint and prep those rims, it turns into this. Now that video is going to be awesome, so stay tuned for that. And now that you got all the background information, let's begin episode 3 of Project Police Interceptor. So as you guys know, whenever you do a project, whether it's a big project like Project Police Interceptor or a little project like putting in a light bar, you want to outline what you're doing. So there are 5 main things we're going to be doing for this project. The first thing is going to be installing these red and blue traffic advisors and also a dash cam. The second thing we're doing is mounting a rear traffic advisor. This sits on the rear deck, just like that. The third thing we're doing is mounting a light bar in the front grille area. The fourth thing we're doing is we're going to mount these mini LEDs right under the bumper, which is going to look awesome. You just wait and see. And the fifth thing we're going to do is we're building a center console to mount all the controls and switches in. I'll go over how to make a center console. You'll see the whole process. But for now, it's going to house our siren box here. That's going to go like somewhere over here. There's going to be switches to control the lights right over here. And then this is going to be a compartment that can hold the gun for transportation to and from the station. All the wires from everything we're wiring up, from the visor lights to the rear traffic visor to the front lights to the siren, they're all going to be wired right here. So as we install everything, the wires will end up right here. So that's the importance of having a plan for your build. Trust me, draw it out, think it out, whatever you need to do, it'll make the project go as smooth as possible. Now let's get started. Alright, the first lights we're going to mount are these front visor lights. The reason why these are called visor lights is because these clip right to where the visor meets the headliner. Pretty simple install. Firemen and EMS use these all the time. It's a hideaway type light. The install looks clean, so let's get it in there. Alright, we'll do one visor at a time. We'll get these out of the way. And we can see it's going to slide right underneath this. So we just need to loosen that up just a little bit. And the same here, there's 3. We loosen that up just a little bit. And then these forks are going to slide in just like that. Alright, so let's loosen these up. And I'm going to have to... Thank you. And the officer is calling me. What are the odds of that? And I'm going to have to call him back. Because we're getting episode 3 of Project Police Interceptor done. So we're going to loosen up these 3 bolts that hold the visor in. Okay, so with these visor bolts loose, we can slide the lights in. Just need to slip these bad boys in there. Alright, and they're in. This side looks great, but the problem is this side doesn't want to go all the way in because we have 1, 2, 3 bolts holding it in. And one of the bolts is blocking the fins from sliding in. So I'm going to trim one of the fins so we can slide it in more, and then that should work. And just make sure the end here isn't sharp, because you'll cut the headliner if it is. Let's try this again. Good. Now let's tighten up the visor bolts. Get this nice and snug so it doesn't slide out. Tighten up the other one. That's 1, 2, and 3. Make sure that it's in there good, and this is solid. Now we need to remove that plastic shield that goes on here and protecting this. I'm going to scrape off this sticker too. And we're going to put a little piece of felt right up against the glass. So if it vibrates, it doesn't tap against the glass, it taps against the felt. It'll just make it a lot quieter. And since this is mounted in, we'll take off the screws that bolt into the actual light. Here and here. That's 1 and 2. And this slides right out. I don't know why, but I love peeling this stuff off. Now we have our felt. Gotta peel that sticky backing off and tape it right to the part that's gonna rest against the windshield, just like so. Good. And now we can slide this back in here and screw down the light. Okay. Now I want to make sure that the light sits as tight as possible up against the windshield. So I'm going to loosen up the side screws and push the light up to force it against the glass. So now with this loose, I'm pushing upwards and tightening the screws to hold it in place. That's tight, and that's tight. And that's all it takes. Now this is nice and tight. You can hit the buttons. It's not going anywhere, and it's mounted flush against the windshield. Now I'm going to fly through the other side because you know how it's done. Just like doing your first brake job. The first side takes some trial and error, and the second side goes a lot faster. All right, with the passenger side and driver side in, we'll connect the 2 clips and tuck it into the headliner for a nice, clean, wire-free install. Before you know it, Look at that. Now that looks good. Those wires tucked in, we come over here, and then we have our long wire that goes to the cigarette lighter. And we want to tuck this in right down here, and run it down all the way to the floor. We're running all our wires to the passenger side floorboard right over here. We'll start by getting it around this A-pillar plastic molding. And basically, we want the wire to be hidden, so slip it behind the plastic and weather strip it, so it's out of sight.
And then
Run it all the way down the door. Take off the plastic trim here and here. We're going to cut the light cigarette lighter adapter because it's not what we're going to be using. Let's pull up the carpet and snake that freshly cut wire under the carpet, across. We'll put that carpet back for now. And there you go. Our first light is done. All right, so they're wired in. And the reason why we're going to the center for the center console is because you can see right here, these wires coming through here. Well, these wires are from the old center console that was in here. And they're hot wires, so there's 12 volts running to them. They didn't do a very good job cutting them and capping them. They should have taped them up, but that's not the point. The point is we're going to run all our wires for all our lights and all of our accessories right here for the center console, and that's how we're going to power them. Since we're still working at the front of the car, let's go install our dash camera. Every police officer needs a dash camera so that what happens is recorded. This camera shoots in HD, it's wide angle, and we're going to mount it right up here. And then we're going to take this wiring harness and we're going to run it the same way we ran it with our visor lights all the way down. And then we're going to run it to our center console right here. Now that mirror is set up the way the officer likes it. And I think this dash cam would go great right behind the mirror just like that. You can't see it, it's not in the way, and it's basically there only if you ever need it. And this section comes right to the glass, like so. Gotta plug in the power cord so when the car turns on, the camera turns on. And you can see that it's aimed perfect. I just need to get a memory card for this. And we'll run the wires across the headliner, behind the A-pillar trim,
hey, John.
and down the same way we ran the visor lights. That's all there is to it. Clean, quick install.
Just go off, John.
So let's move on to our next step. The rear light bar. Now our rear light bar is going to be mounted right back here. It's going to look something like this. I'm going to screw right into here. So we have to get to this deck cover here because this is just cardboard. So we want to be able to put a bolt through here with big washers so it supports it. Our cable is going to be running on the passenger side because the passenger side has a special tunnel for the cables. This plastic tunnel right here that all the cables run through. So that's why we're picking the passenger side to run the wires to the front.
I'll move the Colin Police Department. Never should move. That's with 3 errors again.
The seat bottom is really easy to pull out. You just lift up from the front and you can pull it out. Now getting this part of the seat out is a little bit more of a pain. The seatbelts have to get undone. So we'll take off the passenger side seatbelt first. This is an 18 millimeter. There we go. Good. Take the belt off, and now the seat bracket is loose. So let's remove the bolt from the driver's side. Good. And then the back of the seat lifts right out. Just like so. Now to get this deck lid off, we need to get these dreaded Christmas tree clips out. And to do this, I'm using a panel clip pliers, which work awesome. I always used to break these Christmas tree clips, but now they pop right out. Look at that. No damage at all. So let's do the other side too. Oh, so now we're going to take this screw, which is going to go in from the top, and on the underside, we're going to use a large washer, which is going to help mount it securely by distributing any forces on the light bar over a large area, since this is only cardboard. So this whole light bar back here will be strongly secured. Now I put a piece of tape on the glass indicating the middle so we could center our traffic advisor. There has to be an even amount of lights on each side for it to be centered. And there are 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 lights on each side. Now let's just make sure there's nothing under the rear deck before we drill. It looks good, but there's a speaker that we need to be careful with. Now we can drill our holes using the light bar brackets as a guide. Good. Now we can add our screws to hold it in place so we can drill the other side. Beautiful. And the bolts slide right in. Now I'm going to use a piece of wood to prop this deck up. And I'm tightening down some nuts on those bolts so it'll hold it in place. And this is what it looks like all tightened down. Now let's go tighten down the other side. That's one tightened. And two tightened. And we don't need this anymore. So let's put these two clips back in place. That's one. And that's two. Now I want to snake this wire behind the plastic panel here to hide it. And that looks real clean. And I'll do this the whole way down to the floor. And now I'm just tucking the wire out of sight. Now if we look under the carpet here on the passenger side, there's a hidden tube to run wires through. But our wire has a big cigarette lighter adapter on it. So let's cut that off since we're not using it. And we'll run the wire all the way to the front. Just snake the wire through here until it won't go anymore. At the front, here's our wire, and we can pull it the rest of the way through. Nice. So there we go. The wire runs neatly tucked away down the side here, through the tube from the rear to the front of the car. Now to get the seat back in, I need to make sure the middle seatbelt is over the seat, just like that. Otherwise, you can't use that seatbelt. And if we look behind the seat, there's a spot to put the seat in place. I just need to get the hook. There we go. And I'll do the same for the other side. Good. Now we need to tighten down the nut that holds the seatbelt in. And whenever you tighten down nuts or bolts for the seatbelt, make sure you torque them. Just like so. Both sides get torqued to 70 foot-pounds. And that's secured. Now we can install our seat. And the cushion slides right into these two clips. So close. Good. And good. I really had to put some backbone into the seat cushion, but it's in. Whew. All right, that looks awesome. We got it wired up, nice and neat. The seat is back in. The wiring is all running up to here, and our dash cam and visor lights are installed. Now we have some stuff at the front of the car we need to install, and that stuff is a light bar and some mini LEDs. I'm taking up the siren because it's going to be in the way of our light bar, which goes right behind the grill. Just like that. Now I'm going to mark the holes for the light bar mount with a marker. There's one. We'll go to the other side. And here's the other. Now we can remove the light.
No, I did not. Hey, you should tell Dylan, John, that I've been reading the books lately. I've been reading the manga on camera. You should tell him that. Or should I tell him?
So instead, remember to work.
I'll tell him right now so he knows.
Take this grill out. Now we have all the space we need.
I'll tell him right now, John. I'll text him.
Now let's see how good of a job we did aligning this. Beautiful. I'm going to hand screw this in here to align this side. And the other side lines up too. Great. Now we can snug down these screws. Good. And good. So with our light bar in the way, we need a new place to mount the siren. I'm thinking right off to the side here will be perfect. So let's mark up the holes to drill. I'm going to make that a little bit darker just because you can barely see it. And now let's drill them out. Now I'm going to mount the siren in place. It's tight in here, but let's get these bolts in. And the nut on. Can't forget about the bottom one. Man, that is tight. Got it. So with the siren in place,
Guys, text him, John. Ooh!
down here, we're going to remove the headlight. You saw me do this?
Yes, I have his phone number.
And it's pretty simple. Just got to remove these.
Ooh! Ooh, Andy, when are you doing? When did you start doing? Ooh, that's gonna be a cool look to see, Andy. I'm gonna see that, Andy.
Just tighten the bolts.
Yeah, I know Dylan's phone number. We can't put it on YouTube, John, because I didn't have to automatically delete that thing because I know his number. I texted him. I have his, and I also have Helk's number.
It's a good thing that we're relocating the siren
So, yeah.
Radiator. And since we have a light bar up front now, we don't want any more air blocked. So moving this off to the side worked out nicely. Okay, now let's get this headlight back in place and slide in the 2 clips. Now, before we put the grill back on, let's install the mini LEDs. So these lights have a bracket which comes bent.
I'm right now doing volume. Right now, John. I'm doing volume book 3 right now, John.
So I'm gonna bend
I'm doing book 3 right now, John. I had a mechanical. It's under B-Stars right now, John. It's in my B-Stars playlist. Yeah, right now, in the middle of book 3 right now, John. I'll have it finished by tonight, maybe. And who knows? I'll upload tonight or tomorrow. Finish that up, then upload, do book 4, and then get the rest of the books done with. Tomorrow.
This way, each side will be even. They'll be evenly spaced on this side, and they'll be evenly spaced on the other side.
Yeah, John. I've been doing that off and on.
Now I'm going to use these brackets that came with the lights and cut them with tin snips to make my own washer. Now, would you look?
Yeah, I heard about that already, John. I don't need to see it, John. I already knew Tiny Toons is coming back. I already knew it, John. I have a friend of mine that told me that because they used to work on Tiny Toons because they work for Warner Brothers. He worked for Steven Spielberg, so he knew. Yeah, Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, and Pinky the Brain are coming back. All 3 of them are coming back this year, sometime next year. I already knew that.
And bolt that in too. Make sure it's nice and snug. Good. So there we go. That's what each light will look like. Now I'm going to put one right next to it. Tighten that up. Drill a hole. And good. Now the other side will look just like this. And through the magic of editing, we got one finished and the other finished. Beautiful. Check this out. This is going to look sick, all lit up. I got the front light bar and bottom mini LEDs all mounted up. Next, we need to run some wires to the center console and build the center console, which will be pretty sweet because after watching that, you can build your own custom center console in your car, which actually looks good. I did that in my truck. So we'll be doing that, plus we'll be testing the lights on the street in the next episode of Project Police Sector, episode 4.
Really? Because the first one was on Nickelodeon, not her network. That's good to know.
Hey guys, Chris Fix here. Today, I'm going to show you how to make your own center console. When I got my truck, it was missing a center console. I was looking.
Yeah, if I get my truck, I would need one. I don't want a center console in my truck.
Hey guys, Chris Fix here, back with Project Police Interceptor. This is the final episode. I repeat, the final episode of Project Police Interceptor. If you haven't watched the series, I'll link the episodes in the description for you. This is a 2005 Ford Crown Victoria P71, which is the police package. In the first episode, the officer and I just purchased the car for real cheap, so it needed some work and I fixed it up. In the second episode, I wired the siren. In the third episode, I mounted all the emergency lights. In the fourth episode, I made a custom center console that housed all the switches. And in this episode, the final episode of Project Police Interceptor, the culmination of all our work, I'm going to show you how to wire up all this spaghetti into our center console so it's nice and neat. And the best part is, after everything's all wired up, at the end of this episode, we're going to take this car for a ride with the officer, and we're going to test out all of the lights. But before we go wire everything up, you guys came up with some awesome ideas that I want to put in place for this car. The first idea you guys came up with is for the rear light bar. The rear light bar looks awesome, but many of you suggested it looks unfinished because the wire is just laying across the panel. So I'm going to drill a small hole right next to the light bar, and I'm going to run our wire through the hole and under the panel. And look at that. This looks way better with the wire hidden, so great suggestion. Now, the second suggestion you guys had was finishing the inside of the center console. The inside of the console...
I know, but Nickelodeon used to broadcast. It used to be on Animaniacs. Used to be on Nickelodeon as well. Animaniacs, Tiny Toons, both... Wait. Sorry. Animaniacs was on Nickelodeon, okay? And also on Fox at one time. Before the WB did it. So, yeah. Sorry, it's been a while.
Back in the car after it's completely completely dry. Let's check this out. And look at that. That's actually not bad.
Animaniacs.
Exactly pretty, but
Nickelodeon, YouTube.
the coating stain resistant. It's also a sound deadener, which
So right here, I'll prove it to you.
Taking a SquarePants break.
That's what I heard from a little bird.
There are 8 new reasons to see Nick Jr. this season. Five together, Franklin and Blues Clues, Iowa, Dora,
Ooh!
little bit of Blues Clues and Maggie, and the ferocious beast.
Oh, wow, that's old.
Hey, Franklin. 8 shows for you.
For me.
Let's show that can't.
Season of Nick Jr. Weekdays from 9, 8 Central.
Wait, what?
To 1 Central.
Nick, and it should be on Fox too. Oh, Burger King. That's old.
I'll check.
Real Big Kids meal. You get more food.
Yeah, fries will work.
It's Cubics robots for everyone at Burger King.
Cubics. I haven't seen that show in years. That also used to be on Fox. One problem though is this, or watch Emperor, or watch Cusco. Do some stupid.
Where else but Burger King?
The extreme taste.
Tang. Yuck. I hate Tang.
And in a pouch. 5 fab flavors. Like tropical tremor and cherry craze. Without the bits.
Tang was gross back then. Quick, because I haven't seen half this stuff in years. Amy. Oh, what's this, John? Here's proof that Animaniacs was on Nickelodeon. Here's the proof right here. Here's the proof of the pudding.
Yes, it is.
Orange, berry, lemon, grape, wine, cherry. So many delicious pieces in every bite. Barney, the toad has spoken.
It's the Activities Crystal Diamond Foam. Now you've got the power of the crystals. Right before your eyes, watch your creations crystallize. It's Crystal Diamond Foam. They're more than activities, they're activities.
SpongeBob's back.
Nick. See? It was on Nickelodeon, John. I'm right. It was on Nickelodeon. Hey, there's the proof, John. It was on Nick. It was on Nickelodeon at one time. There's proof, John. It was on Nick at one time. It was never Cartoon Network. It was on Fox and it was on Nick. Never. Then it was on Warner Brothers. Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon. Oh, that's old. Oh, that's 10th anniversary. Wow, that's old. Oh, Nick Clips. Those things suck.
Get your groove on with Dream. Hit it with Hicklets.
That's Pocket Rockets, you dummy.
Today, more on the way. Each sold separately.
Chips Ahoy for breakfast. This could be the start of a very cool day.
Hey! We're
Just-
training your brother for this Latin American singing sensation.
New cool stuff Chips Ahoy toaster pastries are part of a complete breakfast. With real chocolate chips, cool stuff happens.
You're looking for me.
Animaniacs, Fox Kids, YouTube. Yes, it did. Back there, it's called Kids WB. Back then, John, we called it Kids WB. You should know that because your Pokemon was on it. That's old. Fox. On Fox. WXAG 17. WXAG, wait a minute. WXAG 17.
Today's tip for an incredible Walt Disney World Resort visit. Wear a face covering, darling. All guests and cast members are required to wear a fabulous and appropriate face covering.
Never going to happen. Because I don't go there. When was that cartoon? Late 90s?
Tell me what's troubling you,
Wait.
Yakko.
Well, Doc.
Early mid 90s, John? Came out? Mid 90s, John.
Next Monday.
Ooh, a giant Pez dispenser. Well,
Pez, yummy. Ah.
Well, class, are you ready for your lessons? Yes, Miss Romeo. Very well.
Flamingo?
Let's begin.
Jeopardy!
Today's categories are astrophysics, Chaucer, Latin, nuclear fission, TV movies, and the United States. And
That's all day.
remember, students, your responses must be in the form of a question. Yakko, you're the reigning champion, so please select.
Okay, I'll take TV movies for 100.
She has made even more TV movies than Lindsay Wagner. Wacko,
who is Valerie Bertinelli?
that is correct.
Ooh.
Again.
Okay, I'll take the United States for 500.
Yeah, remember Cartoon Network is, yeah, MTV's owned by Viacom, which owns Nickelodeon, which is owned by the same company.
All right then. In the category of the United States, the answer is the names of all 50 states and their capitals.
Okay.
Mhm. It's like dirty anyways.
Here goes.
There's bad Louisiana, Indianapolis, Indiana. This is the capital, Ohio. And Boise, Idaho. That's old. Who remembers that show?
Is your favorite Kids Learning Tube t-shirt?
They used to do music too, John.
LearningTubeShop.com. And don't forget to
John, I didn't have cartoons back then, John.
We're the United States of America. We're fit, strong, and proud. It's the names of our
They do. Everything went to Nickelodeon.
My name is Alabama. My capital is Montgomery. Welcome to Alaska. Juneau's a great place to see. I am Arizona.
Phoenix.
My capital is Phoenix. My name's Arkansas. My little rock is so scenic. I'm California, dude. Sacramento's my capital. Come to Colorado, visit Denver if you go. I'm Connecticut. My capital is Hattiesburg. Welcome.
Dave's anything. Nope, not gonna happen. Yeah.
Visit Dover, my name's Florida. Tallahassee's a place to be.
Oh, it is.
Atlanta's a great city. Aloha, I'm Hawaii. Honolulu's my capital. Come to Idaho. Visit Boise when you
Idaho's a made up word.
United States of America.
Idaho is not a real word. Idaho is made up. Actually, remember, Idaho is not a real name. Idaho is made up. They say, no, according to someone I know, told me that Idaho is not a real word. You look online, you won't be able to find it. Because Idaho was a made up word when it first came out. What? Damn! 401 views? Wow! Wow, that's scary. I did a month ago. 401. Wow. I should start a group saying I should actually be my slogan. Get rid of that word. I don't know, but only a month later, 401 view. I don't know. This is what I made a few while back.
Hey guys, I just watched Blue Raven 666, and someone named Ronnie, we're gonna call him Ronnie M, did something. I'm not gonna say what. If you want to know what, I would go to Blue Raven 666 channel. I'll see if I can maybe give you the link in the description. But it's this: we don't do TikTok on this channel because of one good reason. And now, what Blue Raven told me, what I heard from Blue Raven thinking, what in the hell is TikTok doing? One, I only made one video on TikTok that I got rid of it because
I mean, still, I can't believe that actually happened.
I didn't know how to use TikTok. I tried using it once and it didn't turn out right. It just made me look like an idiot. We don't use TikTok on the channel because of that. I tried using it once, didn't like it, got rid of it. And then I got rid of some other things too I don't use. Thing is though, I am not using TikTok. TikTok needs to get yanked out of the US because you see here, it's already got yanked out of India, which, what is India famous for except cheating? T-Series. And that's about it. But we don't know about India. India has actually banned TikTok. Also, toward my knowledge, most military outfits will not let you. Oh yeah, this I actually do know about TikTok. If you work in the military or you're on a military base, it has to be disabled. Actually, I know that for a fact. That if you were in the military or you're on a military base, your TikTok app has to be gone. I know that for a personal fact. If you work in the military, that TikTok app needs to be disabled. I know that for a fact. How I know that, I'm not ready to say how I know that. I know you're in the military, you don't have the app anymore on your phone. I know that for other reasons. Because it's made from China, and you work for the US military, the Chinese keep out our secrets, and we can get in trouble. Besides that, I still can't believe this person named Ronnie McNuggets. I'm sorry if I butchered his name. He passed away, according to my knowledge, on Facebook Live, which I don't really have Facebook, and I do not want you guys to see that video. But I'm going to see if I can give you guys a link to Blue Raven's video. She has more of what you should actually do, and she does some pretty good stuff. I mean, she's almost at 27,000 subscribers. She's right now at 26.9.
More now. More like 28.
If I can find a way to do it,
She's about 30 now, I think.
If I do, I see her video as soon as possible. Thank you, and yes, get rid of TikTok. Thank you.
Can't believe that video got over 400 views. Who's actually in Grant's Tomb? No one is in Grant's Tomb. Dr. Phil.
That's Monday. Then on Tuesday.
Dr. Phil. Hey, I'm Dr. Phil. I'm an idiot, and I have a nervous breakdown. And I just did a meme review twice. Dr. Phil did a meme review, which he actually had a nervous breakdown, which I don't believe that he did meme review. Because who the heck would Dr. Phil do meme review? He's on. Come on, I know Dr. Phil would never do that. I cannot believe that this one video named. And this one video, I'm not going to say what video. Actually, recently, I was watching Lincoln's Link the other day. There's this one video that actually has more views than Gundam Style now. Over 7 billion views of this year. Is this video, or it was last year? Since last year, this video has over 7 billion views now. I looked it up. So Gundam Style is number 2, but this is number 1. Not this video, but the actual one is, yes. This is a parody. Yeah, it needs to get rid of Teen Titans Go. Large taco, eat it carefully. It's a Q&A, guys. Or if you want to ask me anything else, just put it in the chat. It's like a Q&A. Yeah, boys. What the hell did you do, Mr. Beast? The 2 videos to watch. I eat Mentos. Crickets. That makes no sense because it looks expensive. Oh. I can't believe it actually work. What the heck was that?
You could be sitting there with a Detroit-style pizza in your hand. Just saying.
This is not Addicted. What the fuck is this? I'm having a muffin tomorrow. What the hell is this? This is worse than Whip It, or that Whippy song, whatever they call it these days.
Die, potato, die. I baked you a pie. Oh boy, what flavor? Pie.
Dad, I'm hungry.
I'm hungry, I'm bad.
Why did you make me this way? Why?
What can they do related to that? What can they do with the ball? Girl, leaving me, nothing to lay a man.
What the hell is that? I have no clue. It sounded like crap, though.
Little Havana. Havana, now. Hey, can't hold my mortgage in Havana, now.
If it was there, you belong there. Because you're a jerk.
There's something about his manners.
What's next? Someone more stupid? I don't know. Cut! Nah, I'm staying on, guys. I'm not gonna cut this off. I could cut this off. I hate that. I hate that song. So I'm off. Bup, bup, bup.